You're going to love these easy Christmas decorations and gift ideas. And for this first DIY, I'll be starting by gluing rope on the bottom edge of a round box with hot glue. And then I repeated the same steps until I reached the top of the box. And I also made sure to keep the rope close together so it won't look uneven when it's done. Now when I was done, I cut the rope I was wrapping with, and I also cut 2 small pieces of rope, and glued one of them in an arch shape on the rope that's on the box. And then I repeated the same step to make a second arch so it would look like a basket when it's done. Next, I cut 2 reindeer antlers out of cardboard, and then I put Mod Podge on the cardboard so I could place a piece of brown fabric on it, and to cut around the cardboard and fold the fabric around the edges so I could glue it to the back with hot glue. Then to finish the back, I glued on another piece of fabric on the back, and cut the excess off and repeated the same steps for the second antler. Now for the fun part, which is to decorate the basket. And I did this by cutting out 2 black circles and 2 white circles out of felt. Then I glued on a red pom-pom for the nose, and glued on the black circles for the eyes, and glued the white circles on top of the black. After that, I glued the antlers on the inside of the box. And I also glued a piece of red ribbon on the bottom edge of the box for a collar. And I also glued on a gold bell on the ribbon. Here's how it came out, and I love how cute this reindeer basket turned out, and it works great as a decoration or as a cute gift. And now for this next DIY, I traced the outside part of these plastic cookie cutters onto light brown felt 2 times for each shape, and then I cut them out. Next, I traced around the inner part of the cookie cutters on white felt to get the icing, and I cut them out. And if you have different types of cookie cutters, you just want to make the felt smaller than the felt for the cookie. And you can also use a different color of felt for the icing. After I was done cutting out the icing, I pinned down the white felt onto one of the pieces of brown felt, and then I did a simple stitch around the white felt so it would be attached to the brown felt. Now for the sprinkles, I ran a needle through the felt using a beading needle, and then ran the needle through a bead. Then I ran the needle back through the felt where the bead was going, and then I kept repeating the same steps until I had all of the beads where I wanted them. When I was done, I pinned the second brown piece onto the piece with the white felt on it. And I also folded and pinned down a piece of ribbon in between the 2 brown pieces of felt. And this is where the cookies are going to hang as ornaments, but if you don't want to make these as ornaments, you can skip this step. Now to sew these together, I did a blanket stitch, and I started by pulling the needle and thread through the felt. Then I pulled the needle next to where I just came through so a stitch would be created. And then I ran the needle through the stitch I just created. After that, I put the needle where I wanted the next stitch to be, but before I pulled the thread through, I wrapped the thread around the needle to create a loop, and then I pulled it. Then I repeated this again to make another stitch, and all I had to do now was to sew around the whole cookie, and before sewing it completely shut, I made sure to stuff it. Once I was done sewing, I made a knot using the leftover thread from the first knot and the leftover thread I was sewing with. That's how I made these felt cookie ornaments. And I think these felt cookies look adorable, and I love how they can be customized as a decoration or for a gift. And now for this last DIY, I painted a wood tray green, and to get the color I wanted, I mixed a dark green with white and a little bit of black. But you can paint it any color, and if you want, you can paint the back. Next, I made a darker green with adding a little bit of black paint. And to make trees, I used a fan-shaped paintbrush and an angle paintbrush. And I used the angle paintbrush first to make the base of the trees. Then I took the fan paintbrush and tapped it where I wanted the leaves and the branches for each tree. Now while the paint was drying, I wanted to create Christmas lights for these trees that I have by threading a beading needle of green thread and by putting beads on it. Then I glued the end of the thread inside of one of the trees, and wrapped the thread around the tree while adjusting where I wanted each of the beads to be. And once I reached the top, I glued the end of the thread on the top of the tree, and then I repeated these steps for the other two trees. Once I was done with the trees, I painted a ground and hills on the tray with white paint to create snow, and I also painted the wood bottom of the trees white so it would blend in. Then I watered down white paint and flicked the bristles of the paintbrush towards the tray to make snow falling from the sky. I also made sure the paint was dry before going on to the next step, and once the paint was dry, I put Mod Podge on the bottom of the tray and sprinkled fake snow on it. Now to finish this DIY, I glued the trees and a red car ornament in the snow, and I also added more snow on top of the wood pieces of the trees and the glue showing under the red truck so it can blend in. Here's how this Christmas display looks finished, and I love how it looks, and you can display whatever you would like. That's how you make these Christmas decorations and gift ideas. In the comments down below, let me know which DIY is your favorite, and if you like this video, subscribe to see more DIYs. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!